Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some breaking news coming out of Lincoln, Nebraska tonight as four-star linebacker Dawson Merritt officially flips his commitment from the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And this is the type of win I think Matt Rhule needs. Now, obviously, I think Matt Rhule's program, and we've talked about this a ton since Matt Rhule's taken this job at Nebraska, will probably be built on developing guys, getting them into the program, redshirting them, letting them develop for a couple of years. But again, if Nebraska is really going to take that step and be competitive with teams like Oregon or a team like Ohio State or teams like Penn State, they'll certainly need their share of these type of athletes, those kind of real high-end guys who, again, you just look, they're a little bit different. They have unique set of skills, unique athletic traits. So as much as I think Matt Rhule's kind of model will still be very much based on development, he's going to need to win these battles, right? Those Grant Bricks type players, those Carter Nelsons, those type of guys. Dawson Merritt's certainly going to fall into that group. He's going to need, I think, a couple of those guys a year to push this team over the edge and get them kind of on that competitive level, let's say, with the big dogs, if you will, whether that's in the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, wherever they are. So again, these are the type of battles. Matt Rhule's starting to get this Nebraska team into him. He's starting to win a handful of them. Certainly some more probably on the horizon, if you will, that we'll get into later into this episode. But this is the type of win I think Nebraska needs to kind of continue to build what they've been building under Matt Rhule. So before we get too deep into what Dawson Merritt specifically brings to this Nebraska team and what he probably means to this program, I just wanted to thank all the Nebraska fans for all the support. You guys know ever since that Matt Rhule hiring, we've been at a blast talking about what this program can be, where Matt Rhule can take it. And you guys have shown so much support. We really can't thank you guys enough. So again, if you enjoy the content, please consider interacting, comments, subscribing, liking, all those things. We love seeing them. And the support really does mean the world. So thank you guys again. And without the further ado, I think Dawson Merritt is pretty much the prototypical type of linebacker that Tony White's looking for. And you look at how many different roles Tony White asks his linebackers to play, whether that was Javin Wright in 2023, whether that's like a guy like Mekhi Bayer in 24. He wants a couple of those guys a year who really can do some unique different things, whether that's lining up on as more of an off-ball traditional inside linebacker, whether that's almost playing like a nickel roll or a slot corner somewhere where, again, you really need to play out in space, and whether that's putting your hand in the dirt or rushing the quarterback from the edge. Like, you look at the way some of these linebackers or what they're asked to do, they need a diverse set of skills. And I think you look with Javin Wright's injury and not being able to be kind of full go all season, you kind of see a bit of a drop off, if you will, or I don't think Tony White's really getting to maximize what that defense can be. So again, as he's gotten more time to be in this program, recruit his type of guys, develop them in the way he wants to, I think this is the type of athlete that he kind of needs. Because again, he likes to throw a lot of different looks at teams. And with that ability to mix personnel and match it, you need linebackers who can essentially play probably almost three different positions. And that probably ranges from that defensive end off-ball linebacker to even more, not exactly a slot corner, but again, a guy who can play in space like that and can play in coverage. And look at Dawson Merritt. That's almost exactly what he is kind of about. A guy who in high school has shown the ability to rush the pass at a high level, but also be able to play in space and operate effectively and kind of be, again, that type of player that you can line up in a lot of different ways and really create some confusion for an offense, which again is certainly what Tony White's trying to do. So you look at just purely the scheme fit, pretty much exactly what you want. And then again, just getting into the athletic traits that he has, they're super unique. Like, it'll be interesting probably to see how early Dawson Merritt can get on the field. And you kind of like trying to project forward. There's probably going to be some opportunities in that linebacker room to play. It'll be interesting. Again, probably a guy who'll need to put on some weight and physically develop, let's say, in a certain way. But a guy who definitely, from just a pure talent standpoint, will probably have an opportunity to play early, but also really develop into like a special player if Nebraska and him can do a good job kind of maximizing all the gifts he has. And again, that's something we've talked about. They need those top end dogs. They need guys who are going to go be first, second, third round kind of draft picks if they're going to start closing that gap between teams like Ohio State, not closing, but like starting to win those games and be very competitive consistently. So again, this is the type of battle Nebraska needs to win. I think it's huge that they were able to do it, pull this flip, especially from a team like Alabama that's kind of hot in the recruiting trail in their own right. And then you look kind of down the pipe, let's say, and what the rest of this 2025 class could look like. With the way Florida State's imploding, firing all their coaches, I think Chase Lofton suddenly gets really quite a bit back into that mix. Again, another real high-end talent that you're really excited about. And then probably the other guy that's kind of on the horizon is Michael Terry, and that's going to be a tough battle. Everyone in the country is kind of going after him. Obviously, it seems like Texas is really one of the other teams that seems to be in the forefront of that recruitment. But again, you see Matt Rhule go beat out Alabama for a really good kid that Alabama really wanted. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Matt Rhule, if they can close this season or close this recruiting cycle really strongly, if they get a couple of those guys, you're looking at I think frankly, a class that sets yourself like that's what you want to see from Nebraska going forward. Like 20, it's a solid class for sure where they're sitting now, but you probably want to close it with a couple more really kind of big names to kind of go along with again those more developmental pieces. And I kind of look as much as the season's been probably disappointing from win-loss records, certainly disappointing that Marcus Satterfield was probably given another year even after last year. Because as much as everyone liked to blame the quarterback play last year, which clearly wasn't good enough, on some level, I think your offensive coordinator needs to do a better job than what he did last year, and clearly do a better job than what he's doing this year. So again, I like the move. I think it probably is coming a year too late, but at the end of the day, you see Matt Rhule is really trying to do something about this offense because you kind of look player to player. I think you kind of like where this Nebraska team's been at. I mean, you see the development of some of the young guys, Ja'Cory Barney, Dylan Raiola, certainly, Gunnar Gatula at that offensive line spot playing really good football as a younger player. You look at guys on defense like Willis McGahee Jr., like I think you're seeing some young guys develop in a really positive way. Again, their offense just clearly hasn't been good enough for the whole year, and that's certainly going to try to change that with Dana Holgerson. But I think if you're a recruit and you're kind of looking at where, again, probably some early playing time for Nebraska, but also the opportunity to develop at a really high level, that's going to be what I'm looking for. So again, like kind of guy like a Ja'Cory Barney or a Shavers at linebacker, like those type of guys, can they develop into really special players in the way that they kind of seem to be right now? But again, like under the time of Matt Rhule, if they can start to prove that that's a real pipeline where you can come in, play winning football, and then really develop as a player, I think that's kind of going to be the key to Matt Rhule probably cranking this recruiting back or up to maybe the level that, frankly, I think Nebraska should be able to, given all the resources that school has and the passion of the fan base. So again, have to win some of these battles early. Really important, I think, for Matt Rhule to get this guy, especially given the scheme fit and the versatility he has working in the Tony White defense. So certainly huge news for Nebraska. I don't think we're going to be done talking Nebraska on the recruiting trail, as we just talked about some of those kind of top targets that are continuing to kind of float out there. So again, if you do enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. We certainly really appreciate all the support, and we'll talk to you guys later.